Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's David with From Military to Millionaire, and I am here with Alex Felice, and he's gonna introduce himself. So I will let you do that.
Hey, yeah, I'm Alex. I am a long distance rental real estate investor. I do it. I live in Las Vegas, but I invest in North Carolina. I I bought my first rental about 2 years ago. I just clipped my. We just locked in my seventh one now. I have perfected the Burr method. That's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Like I said, I do a long distance, and now I've been helping other people do it, teaching them how to do it with my website, brokersofchoice.com. And I've been doing a consulting business where I actually walk through people through the process. And we're getting ready to put offers on mid-sized multifamily and looking to move on to the next thing. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So Alex and I met at FinCon like 3 weeks ago, which I'm still got like a whole pile of stuff back here that I have an intention of getting to, and I've like barely crossed the wave tops on it, and that's haven't even watched the virtual replays of the webinars or the classes yet. But we met there, we hung out, we got kicked out of the pool for drinking beer and that we didn't buy there, and it was a good time. So we got along. Alex was in the Army, right, for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years Army. I was in third SIGDET. Third group SIGDET at Fort Bragg.
Yeah, awesome. So, and now he's doing big things in Vegas. So, well, I guess investing elsewhere, but lives in Vegas. I guess my first question for you would be, were you investing in real estate in the military? Was that something you started doing prior to, or down the road? How'd you get started?
Nah, I was a travesty of a human being in the Army. I was in a bad troop, but I was very apathetic. I was apathetic in high school, and that's kind of why I joined the Army, to get me some, to get a little ambition out of me, a little self-discipline. And that's what it did. Although it took a long ramp up period because, man, I have a propensity for screwing things up. And so, look, I got out of the Army broke. I started selling cars. I did that for a long time. I was broke because I lived week to week. And somewhere along the way, I kind of used my college degree. I got an associate's degree in business. It didn't really help me that much, but the Army paid for it. Okay. And so I got a sales background when I got out of the Army, and the Army taught me self-discipline, but I didn't know anything about money until my poor decisions really started catching up with me around 2011. And then I really decided to get my life together. And then I learned personal finance. And from there I went to real estate. And, there's a long ramp up period in real estate, I think, for education. And, you got to really wrap your mind around a complex process. But once you do, man, like I said, I bought my first rental in 2016, and now I got 7, and we're looking to buy a 40 unit real soon. I mean, it goes really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's very scalable once you figure out the basics, because, as I point out to people a lot of times, whether you buy a single family house, a fourplex, or a 20 unit, it costs the same amount to fix the doorknob. So you might buy a monstrous property, but your overall expenses may not change much.
Well, yeah, your expenses are going to be a percentage of gross. Well, that's how you measure them, rather, and they should be a little bit higher on a big complex, maybe a little over 50%, whereas to be a little under 50% on a small unit. But what you're saying is right, because a lot of the problem with real estate is it's not running the business; it's the transactional cost, both in resources and both in capital, but also, human capital, people resources, and time. And so if you're going to do one deal, if you do one single family house, it takes about 6 people to do this. I need a realtor, a contractor, a property manager, an insurance agent, a lender, like a title attorney. All these people have to get together and work together to do one deal, whether it's 40 units or 1 unit. And so the transactional amount of resources it takes to do one big deal than it does one small deal is, like you said, it scales up, or it scales down with, it scales up with efficiency. So doing a 40 unit, it just makes more sense. Buying one at a time gets old real quick. I've bought 7 and I'm already sick of it.
Yeah, I concur. I did somewhat similar, not a 40, but a 10, and then some other weird thing. But yeah, it's just a natural progression. So I guess next question for you, since we do kind of cater towards people who are, sounds kind of like what you did, and then definitely what I did, as people hear me talk about it, where we join the military to get something out of it, and that's great, but we may not necessarily be the best with our finances. And then we I personally know that I have said that, oh, I don't make any money in the military. And then I turn back now and I'm like, no, I made plenty of money. I was an idiot. Um, is there anything you wish the military had taught you as far as real estate investing, or that somebody had tried to teach you at a young age?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look back and wish somebody helped you take better responsibility for your life, but that's really what it comes down to. Is if you're broke and you live in America, it's probably your fault. Maybe not, but if you're listening to this right now and you continue broke, then it's definitely your fault. Because if you have a cell phone and you have some resources and you have some semblance of the understanding that you can take control of the economic problem, then once you believe that you can fix it, then it becomes really easy to fix. So I don't blame the Army for not teaching me real estate or finance. That's not their responsibility. Their responsibility was to instill, their responsibility is manyfold, but what the best thing the military does is teach you self-responsibility. It doesn't always, it teaches you self-reliance, not self-responsibility, because it's actually the opposite. The military kind of hinders you in a way because it babysits you too much. You don't really have to be good with your money in the Army because they're going to pay you every 2 weeks, no matter what. In 2008, there was a global financial collapse, but no military troops lost their job. So I don't wish the military taught me any better. I mean, I wish that I had gotten my head out of my ass sooner. And you can't blame that on anybody but yourself.
I would concur with that. Yeah. I wish somebody had handed me, I guess I don't necessarily wish that somebody had handed me. I wish that I had been open-minded to, I spent probably until I was like 22 saying, I don't read. Reading is dumb. And then Here I am. Someone hands me Rich Dad Poor Dad. I gave them the same excuse. And they were like, hey, asshole, like go download it on Audible and listen to it while you drive. And my whole world changed. Yeah.
I caught Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was house sitting for a guy, 2005. I had just got back from South Korea. And I caught this book, and I was not a reader, same as you. I was like, reading, I'm smart. What do I need books for? Typical 25, 27-year-old kind of arrogance. And so I picked this book up and I read it, and it meant a lot to me, but I didn't apply anything. But I'll tell you what, you read that book and it sinks here. And I knew going forward, I read that book in 2005 and I didn't buy my first house till 2015, almost, just about 2015. So it was 10 years stirring in my brain where it was like, I didn't know what to do with this information, but I knew you needed passive income. I knew passive income was the most efficient way to go forward. And so when I finally got sick of being broke, I looked at the world and said, what can I do it has to be passive because I know that is the answer. And I extrapolated, and I got that from information that was festering in my brain for 9 years. So, reading has a compounding effect that is incredibly undervalued in the society. Well, look, I read 40 books this year, and I'm going to clip 50 next year. And I read all nonfiction, and it's the best thing that I've ever done. And it's the highest return on investment of anything I've ever done. And so the earlier you can beat into your brain reading as a habit, the more successful you'll be for the long haul, guaranteed.
Yeah. Absolutely. I 100% agree. And the thing that a lot of people, it comes out of time, right? Some people, I don't have time to read. I don't have time to, well, if you have a commute, you can listen to it on Audible. If you run, you can listen to it on Audible. If you go to the gym, if you go on a walk, I mean, Do
you take a shower in the morning? Because that's when I listen to mine. I got an $8 speaker a Bluetooth speaker off Amazon. I play it in the shower. I play it on the way to work. I have the luxury that I can listen to it a little bit at work. So I'll crank out 30 minutes here or there at work. Sometimes when I'm doing something monotonous. I do it at the gym. I do it at the way home. I do it, dude. If you don't have time to listen to Audible, you better not have a Netflix subscription.
Agreed.
Get your shit together, son.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your website, Broke is a Choice, and what you're doing there.
Yeah. So like you said, we met at FinCon, and FinCon has a business model that I reject, kinda, where I don't profit off my website directly. I don't consider myself a content creator. I like real estate. I like the business of real estate, and I like building systems, and I just like building businesses. Or I've liked enjoying. I shouldn't say it like that. I have enjoyed building my business. But when it comes to a website, I don't like creating content. I don't have a YouTube, or I'm thinking about doing a podcast, but it's never been natural to me. And when I first started writing, it was incredibly cringy. I still don't listen to my own content. I can't do it. I can't listen to it, read it. My podcast guest appearances, nothing. So about a year ago, I said, look, I got this knowledge, and I have enjoyed sharing it on I spent a lot of time on Bigger Pockets. So I've been sharing on there. And so I said to myself, let me just write I have these brilliant thoughts in my head and the world needs to know. So let me get some of these blogs out. And, that was not even a year ago that I started that blog. And people are really, look, I've gotten a lot of good response from it, and it's made me a bunch of money. It got me a podcast interview, which got me a guy who redesigned my website, which, has now, when you go there, it's a great looking website. I'm very fortunate that it came out so well, and people respond well to it. And it's brought in actual investors now. And so, what I tell people is, if you're on the fence if you're not sure what to do with your time, you should have a blog to get your exposure out there. Everybody needs a digital resume, and you don't want to put everything on Facebook because you're on somebody else's dollar when you're doing just Facebook or just YouTube or just Twitter. So you need to have your own space, and it needs to look professional, and you need to do as fast as possible so that the effects of your content creation can compound over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially, I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about, Facebook, Instagram, it's great, but ultimately owning your own email list is probably the most powerful aspect, because Facebook could just block you and there you go. Now what?
Yeah. I don't collect email on my website at all. It's a really personal website. Like I said, it's not the FinCon model. The FinCon model is collect emails, get affiliates, do some advertising maybe. The FinCon model, what I consider is direct monetization of the website. And that's just not what I do. I do the website so that if you stumble across me, which again, I'm missing out on the marketing side of it, but if you stumble across me, you're going to come there. It's my site. I got all the skin in the game. I owe nobody any content there's nothing on there that I don't, everything's mine. So I don't owe anybody. I can say what I want the way I want it. And it comes off very personal the way I write. And so people really like it, and they gain a lot of trust, and they really understand what I'm doing, and it brings investors in. And I like that. I could be a little more efficient, but so some people start websites to do purely marketing. I started a website just to share my personal thoughts, and it's worked out really well for me.
Yeah, I have yet to even think about the idea of monetizing my website at all. Like you, I probably more of a consulting side of things, because I started the website with the intent of, I would like to write a book. I would like to do this. I would like to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. So how about I just build somewhere for me to learn how to write, and maybe people will like it enough that when I do figure out what I'm going to do, I'll have some people to say, hey, look, I wrote a book, rather than, post it on Facebook and hope someone looks at it.
Yeah, it's practice.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's a way to talk stories. So, and then meet guys like you and whatever. So I am going to touch, we mentioned it earlier. So if you don't mind, I saw a controversial, so to speak, VA loan post that you made earlier today, and it had some people riled up. So I figured I would ask you about it, because that's way more fun than just tagging you in Facebook and letting people go, oh no. So if you don't mind, could we get your 2 cents on the VA loan and why it is not the best strategy to utilize?
Yeah, look, that article is only controversial if you disagree with me, which would make you wrong anyway. So I don't think it's controversial at all.
I like it.
Look, the point of the article that I wrote was, the reason that the VA loan is a trap for new rental real estate investors. And that's true, because the VA loan is a great program for a guy who wants to buy his first primary residence with no money down. Now, there are instances where buying a house with no money down is a good idea. If it's your primary residence and you're in a high appreciation market, like I come to Las Vegas, I knew it was going to explode. I moved here just under 2 years ago. I knew it was going to explode. If you looked at Las Vegas 2 years ago, it was on the rise. But if you looked at it and you decide and you looked at some of the things that were going to happen, you would know it was good. I didn't use my VA loan to move here when I moved here, but I would have if the circumstances made it a little more beneficial than it was. So if you're going to come to an area where you can do zero down, you can make, I'll make $100,000 in 2 years on equity in this house, and then you can get out. That's a great way to use the VA loan. But that's not a rental investment, and that's hardly repeatable, and it's very speculative. So that is no way to look at that's the best case scenario for a VA loan. So that's no great way to look at an investment strategy. So I call it a trap, because that's not a great rental strategy, and people only do it because they have no money. And that is no way to design a real business model. I don't have any money, so let me do whatever I can at the expense of good decisions just to get in. And I don't believe that's that should be, I don't believe that's a correct incentive for being a rental real estate investor. And that's what a lot of people do, because that's the only avenue that they know. And you hinder yourself, because being able to raise money and being able to save money are two incredibly valuable talents that are much more effective to work on those than to just buy a house with no money down, because you have no money. And then you have a lousy rental and, no equity and high overhead. Yeah. I mean, and you're buying a retail house. I buy all my houses. I bought a house, $65,000 all in, and it's worth $100,000. I got a 45% equity stake. If you buy a house with zero down, you have a negative equity stake, because you're going to finance your taxes and closing costs anyways. So, dude, that's no way to invest.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest benefit there, is the buying at discount, because it's darn near impossible to buy a fixer or a property that needs any work at all with the VA inspection, because it's very stringent. They want it move-in ready. And so you lose that on that opportunity. I think there's probably some instances with like a fourplex house hack where it could work if you're willing to put up with all of the chaos that comes with being a landlord in the building. And
and I put that on the article too, by the way. If you move into a fourplex, this is a good, so people said it's controversial. It's like, well, the title's controversial and people don't like to hear it. So yeah, it's clickbait. I don't give a fuck. So
no,
look,
it's reasonable.
It's reasonable. Well, and I know people people like to say that I'm controversial, but what I think is people like to be outraged. And I love to play into their ridiculousness. And so, if you look at that, the comment section of that thread, the people who are most adamantly against it were realtors who sell VA loans. Well, they're salty because I'm saying that their one gimmick is not as great as they wish it could be. And so, yeah, they're salty, but they're biased.
Well, it's just like the business model of buy a house every time you change station in the military, which I would very adamantly tell you that if you buy a house as a rental property, that might work out for you. But people will just buy a house that, I can afford the VA loan. Let me buy right here. Maybe the market will go up. And then, maybe you become a millionaire, or maybe you become homeless.
Maybe you just become a guy with a bunch of debt and no cash flow.
Exactly. So it's all situational.
Yeah, and the other problem you have with that strategy, which is a common one, buy at every duty station, you get the biggest benefit in growing a business is it's economies of scale. And so when I have one property manager to deal with 30 properties, that's an economies of scale on my time, because I don't have to deal with one guy, one relationship, one contractor, one lender. They do all the same thing. As soon as I got 5 houses in 5 different areas, I got 5 contractors to deal with. And let me tell you something, finding one good contractor is hard enough. Finding one good property manager. You want to deal with 5 of these people on margin, on slim margin deals. And even if those places go up in value over time, that's an equity play. You're still going to be cash flow strapped. And if you buy a nice building, like you said, because you got to buy a retail building. So fine, you buy this house and you do 0%, and 8 years goes by and you've had no problem because the house is new. Well, 8 years goes by, and when 12 years comes along, you're going to start having problems. Well, you're still not going to have any equity, or you're still not going to have any cash flow, because it's just not enough time. And you did it, and those small margins are going to get tighter and tighter as as you buy more and more of these. So it might work out, that plan, buy one at every duty station, but you lose a lot of benefit. You know why I'm so good at my, why I can buy so fast in my area? Because I know the market like you wouldn't believe. So if a deal comes across my desk, I can make a $60,000 decision in 10 seconds, and I'll commit to it. I know I can buy this house. I know that I have exit strategies. I know how to deal with it. And it's because I know the market. And I know that market because I've been dealing with it for so long. But if you got 5 houses or 6 houses, or God forbid, 10 houses in different markets, I guarantee you don't know any of those markets as well as I know my one. And it's going to cost you on decision-making, speed, effectiveness, and it's going to cost you on economies of scale for management. And again, for what? Just to get the 0% down VA loan? That's a terrible strategy to build around this one seemingly better than it really is benefit. Sorry to rant.
No, I mean, you're right. And knowing your market, and then having a team that you know and trust. I mean, you can't beat that. So personally, right, like my little personal example of this would be the fact that I bought this building we closed September 17th. So in less than a month, and it had a live-in property manager, and I fired her yesterday. So that was my first experience with bringing a second property manager in. I had my property manager oversee to help with the transition. And before the end of the first month, it was like, hey, do you mind taking over this building? Because I'm going to fire that person. And that was it. And I brought in my old property manager to manage it because it worked better. And so I would hate for something like that to happen where you are now PCS from California to North Carolina and you're going, oh crap, I only have one property manager. She's terrible. I don't have someone to replace her.
Yeah, and the other thing is it doesn't give you the confidence to move forward quickly. So like right now, I know that I can take on a bunch more houses because I know that if I call my property manager up and say I got more work, he's going to be like, heck yes, let's go, boy. Let's do it. He's going to be excited. And I know he's going to get the job done. And so it gives me a ton of confidence to go and buy property 7, 8, 9, 10, buy this 40 complex, buy 150 in a year. Like I have the confidence of that because I have good people. If you live in one area or if you got properties in a bunch of areas, look, there's just not that many good property managers running around that you're going to get 5 of them. It's never going to happen. You're going to get one, maybe you marry that person forever. And then the odds that you're going to have a great property manager contractor. Look, I'm the only one. That's why I've gotten so good so long. My team, I'm so thankful for them. My realtor, my contractor, my property manager, insurance and lender. I mean, superstars, all of them. And I'm incredibly grateful. And that's what gives me the confidence to go so quick. People go, Alex, you're blowing up. And I'm like, get good people. That's all you need to work on is get good people and sell them on your ideas and feed them business. And the world will work out.
Overnight success.
Yeah, overnight.
I hate that term. So, okay. I think that's most of my questions, but if you don't mind, I would like to know obviously your website, but where can people reach out to you? Is that the best place as far as consulting? What kind of stuff are you offering? Any closing comments, I suppose, on yourself?
Look, I help people as best I can. I do it almost for free. I do offer one product, and right now I'm kind of maxed out. I've been helping people to buy houses in my area. I'll help you to buy it in your area if you just want to talk, but I have an actual program where I walk people through and help them buy houses. It's kind of like turnkey, but I teach them, and I have a really good system where I don't even take any money from them until they actually have purchased a building. So it's worked out really good, but you can only take so many of those clients before they're, you're maxed out. So aside from that, if you're listening and you want some help and you just want to reach out, I talk to people. I do Skype interviews all the time for free, no problem. Information is free. My website, I write my deals all out as transparently as possible. You can find me on Bigger Pockets, Alexander Felice. My website, brokersofchoice.com. I'm easy to get a hold of if you're looking.
Awesome. And he's got great hair. So,
True that. I will give you I should do a blog on hair product, get a round brush, blow dry that joker, and
I need to
lay right. You gotta get lay right. You gotta blow dry it every day, dude.
That's the lay right's what I use when I actually have enough hair for that stuff.
I got like 10 tins of that stuff.
All right. Well, hey, Alex, it's been awesome. Thank you for tagging along on this interview. Guys, check out his website. If you're interested in anything burr related or long distance related, he's your guy. He's got some good knowledge, so hit him up.